more into the mixing side of things, do you generally have a standard approach with all your mixes where you'll kind of like take the desk down and just start with the kick drum and putting the drums together, or will you sometimes go for a balance and pan to listen to what the challenges are, or does it differ from project to project?
No, I'll start with the drums normally. Right. Yeah, just get the drums so they're rocking, and then I kind of know where the bass needs to fit in, and then you can hear where the guitars need to be.
Sure. So, what's your approach with, if you've got a drummer who's a lot of grace notes, a lot of buzz rolls, are you kind of like really tracking the velocity of those with the drum samples? Yeah. So then multi-velocity hits.
Yeah, but if it's something really, it's never going to sound right with a sample, I'll just use the natural, Yeah.
With the samples, do you have any approach with those? Like, am I right in saying you'll generally use the more of the samples? I was looking at Dan Turner's article on the Cradle mix, where you use the samples more for the creative EQ. You'll more heavily EQ the samples than the...
Yeah, I think you can get away with it a little more, can't you? You've not got any spill or anything, yeah.
And do you ever have any approaches with using the samples more for sending to the reverb, particularly with the snare?
Not really. I haven't got any set rules with that. I'll probably send in about equal actually.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I think I know the answer to this one, but do you ever look at time aligning your drums as far as nudging things around in the DAW so that perhaps the overheads align?
No, I've tried it. I mean, there's a load of plugins now for doing that work it out. And I've never had anything that's been particularly mega successful doing that.
Right.
And the only reason I would do that was if I got sent something where I could hear something phase-wise. I mean, you sometimes get that mid-range in the snare coming out where it's a bit weird, don't you?
Yeah.
But then I'll probably sort of duck the overheads on the snare hits a little harder, just to take care of that. Yeah, right. Yeah.
And generally speaking, do you have your individual cymbal mics? Do you tend to go with them completely wide? Or toe them in slightly?
Yeah, maybe a little bit in sometimes. It depends on how many we've got up there, because obviously, if you've got a set of 4 going across the top of the whole kit, you're going to get the bleed on it anyway. That's going to narrow your stereo image. So
sure.
You want it sort of wider on the outer 2 at least. So. Right.
And as far as gates, most specifically on your kick and snare, firstly, will you ever, in any circumstance, have bleed on either of those signals? And sort of spill, rather, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll have it so I automate it sometimes.
Right.
So, if there's certain places, like with ghost notes and stuff, where you've got to pull it out a bit more.
Right.
But I'll usually make a separate track for the ghost notes, so I've got total control over it, yeah.
Cool. But generally speaking, say with your snare drum, are you going to try and gate out all the kick bleed on the snare mic?
Yeah, most of the time, yeah.
Right, okay. And when it comes to your waveform edits on toms, do you always do waveform edits on your toms?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Room mics, obviously it depends on the band how much you can use room mics because of the space that's available. Am I right in saying that generally then the faster the drum performance, the less likely you are to be able to...
Yeah, I mean, I'll have a little bit in there. I'll always have a little bit just to, I think you can get away with more than you realise, actually, when it's in a mix.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's the sort of thing that's always going to be in there a little bit, that little bit of glue in the background.
Sure.
But yeah, when it's fast, you're pulling it back, slow stuff, give it that nudge up.
Sure. And continuing with this sort of like cohesive glue element to your drums, parallel compression, is that something that you will only use for certain bands and certain performances?
No, I mean, I'll use it maybe on the snare just to help it pop out a little bit, the front end of it,
Right.
So you've still got a bit of the body of the snare in there that you're not destroying with the compression,
Yeah.
It's hit and miss. It depends on how the samples sound. It's all individual, Yeah. I haven't got any set rule with that.
No.
But the Machine Head record that we just did, I had the kick, snare and toms subgrouped out and coming back at 2 channels and just slammed with a couple of the SSL compressors,
Right.
And that added a real nice attack to the whole kit in a way,
Right. And when you're parallel compressing, but you've got a really fast attack time on that.
So just so you get that that smack. You dial it in with a real heavy compressor, and then you can find the attack. So
Sure.
it's adding the top end smack to it.
Got you. Staying with the theme of compression, then. Obviously, it changes production by production, but would you ever use a fast attack time on any of your drum signals?
Not mega fast, no.
No.
It can get too clicky if you're doing that. Too
Yeah.
plasticky if you're not careful.
Right. Okay. So generally, you're looking at medium attack times on your drums pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
Because you'll sometimes compress your overheads, your cymbal mics, won't you? And
A tiny bit, yeah.
A tiny bit,
Yeah.
just-
But on those, I'll probably have a quick compression just to limit it a little bit.
Right.
Again, to pull the snare back a little bit.
right. Okay.
Because that's
Okay.
always just that's going to spike it more than anything.
Right. And staying with those cymbal mics, how, and again, does it depend on, obviously it does depend on the production, but would there be any circumstance where your cymbal mics, generally you're going up to about 550 with a high pass filter on the cymbals, would there be any circumstance where you'd want it to be lower than that, perhaps getting some more snare out of the metalwork?
No, not really.
No,
No.
okay.
Well, no. I always try and get a little bit more out of it, but I always end up around that point. Yeah.
Sure. Do you tend to compress first and then EQ, or EQ then compress?
If it's a snare, I'll probably EQ then compress. So you're compressing the smack out of it, if you know what I mean.
You're compressing the smack?
Yeah, well, you're doing your corrective EQ, any low end that would be altering the compression.
Right.
And you're putting the top end into it and then hitting the compressor.
Right. So that the corrective EQ's not then going to the compressor?
Yeah.
Got you. Okay, but generally on the others it's generally compression then EQ?
Maybe not. No, I'd probably be compressing on the back end a bit, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Because any sort of, you think about it, any sort of low end or any sort of, you're not grabbing the, well, it's a bit of both really.
Because the compressor tends to push down
Yeah.
creative EQ,
Yeah.
but then
But I kind of like the way it sounds hitting the compressor after the EQ,
right.
because you're just getting a bit more of the, as you're driving the compressor harder in the right area.
Right, but then when you change all your EQ moves through the mix, it sort of changes what's going into the compressor.
Yeah, but it's only I'm not hitting things hard. It's only sort of
Mentioning hitting things hard, when it comes to compressing on the track or compressing on the subgroup. So let's say you've got snare top and bottom, two samples getting used, and then it's going to a snare sum. Are you using series compression?
I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do a snare sum. No, I'm coming back up the desk, so I've got natural snare and triggered snare probably separate anyway. So I'd be compressing on the,
on the track.
Yeah.
Right, and is that the same with the bass as well? Do you ever create a subgroup? And
Not really. No, I bring everything up separately on the desk, so I'm controlling it separate.
And a drum subgroup?
No, I won't do that.
Interesting. Okay. So obviously you never glue the drums together with any drum sum compression.
No, the only thing, like I say, I maybe a parallel of the actual drums, not the overheads, and I might have a little bit of compression on the overheads as well, but I don't try and stick it all together like that. No.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting question.